in history. It just was. Like typically every year we have an idea who's gonna go in the top five at least. A lot of times top 10. Um, I had no idea who was going number one. Man, it feels like it's been a minute.
It's been a while,
We are back in the
man.
building. I'm glad
Yes,
to be
yes,
back. Man, this is therapy for us, bro.
man. And you know what though? I was just telling my kids about that. They was like, how's the podcast going? Oh, we're doing pretty good, pretty good. We're doing things, making some changes, doing some things to level up. And and then it was like, then I was like, well, man, I just can't wait to get back in there because when we up in there, this all therapy. We just talk about stuff and everything, and then after you done, you feeling good.
Yeah,
So
it really is, man. We it's like sitting down with your therapist, um, having a conversation about things that bother you, things that stress you out, things that you see, and a lot of times, man, just to even be able to just speak it out in the open just gets it off of you. And also because we have that dialogue with our viewers, every now and then we can get a chance to get, other people's views on things. That's what I love
right.
about the show as well. It's like we don't force people to have to take our views. We express our views, and hopefully through our conversations and things that we bring up, we may entice you or sway you to just look at things from a different perspective. And that's what we should be doing anyway in life is getting multiple perspectives of things because that helps you make a better decision, educated decision. And so I'm glad to be back.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
we're missing Larvell and Christy. They are always in our prayers and our thoughts. The show is not complete without them too, but we wish
Right,
them
right.
well, and we know that they will be returning soon. So to those guys, we love you and we miss you. Um, let's get in. Let's
Yeah,
get
man.
in. Let's get
Yeah.
in. I have actually been stirring some waves on social media, which that's what I do. Um,
That's what it's for.
That's what it's for. I want to challenge people. I want to, if you stand 10 toes down on things that you believe in, I'm going to test that. I'm going to test your resolve. I'm going to test um, how loyal you are to that thing. And most of all, man, in all honesty, I just want to challenge. I just want to challenge you, like we said earlier, just to look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get caught up in how we think about things, and it closes us off to any other views or ways to look at that particular thing. And so we should love being challenged. I love being challenged
Right. Yeah.
all the
I
time.
mean, that's how you go to another level is by being challenged.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't get where you need to be with mediocrity. You don't. And mediocrity breeds complacency, and we understand what complacency will do. And so I love being challenged, man. I don't take it as a confrontation type of thing. I take it as literally a test. And there's probably has not been a time where even when I stand firm on something that listening to other people's views and perspective, I don't learn something. And I guess the key to that though is to be open minded.
That's where it starts. You got
Yeah,
to be open.
gotta be gotta be open. If you're not open, then you're closed off, then you're only seeing things from a
That one-sided view.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I love when people come to me with information, but I will tell you this: make sure you research your information when you come to me, right? Because I am going to challenge you, um, and I'm not, and never would I ever say that what I say is Bible. I'm not saying that at all.
Because when we challenge, when we get to the point of wanting to challenge people or just challenge, period. I mean, it's not to the point that you're gonna challenge to the point that you're gonna want to argue and want to fight and all that. It's just the it's just a point of different points of view. You want to put your point across, they want to put their point across. and then hey, that's what it is. It's not to the point that you want to fight or just start yelling at each other. Just singing together, and if one is more, I'm not gonna say one is gonna be more than the other, but it can be compromised. Things can be on the point of wanting to be able to just like sit there and be like, okay, yeah, I get your point. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I get your point. Yeah, okay, yeah, 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 I understand that. Yeah, okay, cool. Just move on.
Exactly. Um, that's what makes this world so beautiful. Man. Like everybody has their own way that they do, and every now and then you'll have that commonality. And I think our life and our life experiences, they lend to that, and that's where that comes in, depending on your life experiences, depending on what type of view you're gonna have. But like we go back to that thing that we just talked about is like you have to be accepting and open to viewing things differently. I love when people have more life experience than me, and I get a chance to have conversations with them and pick their brain because those are the ones that actually lived it. Um, I know that there's a ton of books out there that's how to books, but
Oh yeah.
I would rather have that person that has actually lived it and done it. I'd rather have those conversations than to just sit and read a book of a perspective of someone that probably didn't live it. So yeah, that's always good.
Because when we're doing the difference between um, how we live our lives and how we think about certain things, and how people react to certain issues, situations, and all that. Just like what you were talking about earlier with the whole sports thing with Ronnie James, that just by just thinking about it, I'm like, well, even with the Los Angeles Lakers, how they came about getting them, I'm like, is it more so of them just being wanting him on the team because of his father, or is it because of they're trying to potentially, groom him?
That move did not make the team better now or for the future. It didn't make them better. And for a team like Los Angeles that's constantly every year, because of that organization and who they are, every year their goal is a championship. It's championship or bust when it comes
Right,
to
right,
teams
right,
like
right, right,
Los
right.
Angeles and Boston. It's championship or bust. So every move you make, if it's not lending to you building for a championship season, the year that you make that decision, then it's all for nothing. And we know typically the Los Angeles Lakers don't do that. Every move they make is intentional and it's based on the fact that we are pursuing a championship. And that number 55 pick was not did not tell the fans or the city of Los Angeles. It didn't let them know that the Lakers were serious about a championship run. It it it,
Yeah,
it didn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
didn't. There was no seriousness about the direction of the Lakers organization over the next 2 or 3 years with those moves. But look at their history the last 5 years. It's been a revolving door of athletes coming through there, of hoopers coming through there. LeBron has literally played with between 30 and 35 different NBA players uh, in LA. That is a shame. I love the game, the NBA game. I've loved it from day one. Um, I've coached the game. I've played the game at a professional level. I received quite a few accolades coming out of high school. Um, I was heavily recruited coming out of high school, and so I have a passion for this game, and so it really bothers me when I feel like the integrity of the game is in jeopardy. Um, for me, right now, as much as it pains me to say it, the only pure basketball right now is women's basketball. Is women's basketball, and if if our listeners, if our viewers or listeners didn't get a chance to make it to the Mercury Fever game that was played on Sunday, you missed a spectacle. And we're not talking just the on court. The biggest spectacle for me is when I walked in that arena and every seat was full.
Oh,
It was sold out. 17,071 people. Sold completely out.
wow.
And we're talking about a WNBA game. And I'm not going to single one person out. This draft class for the WNBA was was stacked from Angel Reese to Caitlin Clark to like down the line.
Um,
Those girls out of South Carolina, other players that was on Iowa, um, LSU, like down the line. This was probably one of the deepest drafts in history in WNBA history, and I love what it's doing for the women's game. Um, I would have loved to be able, where I would love to know what the numbers look like on ticket sales, because I know I go to at least 8 to 10 WNBA games a year, um, and I enjoy sitting on the floor at them games. That's the one. That's the one time a year where I can sit on floor and flaunt my outfits and show off the brand and
uh,
all of that. Nope.
that's this time,
Floor
huh?
seats where I typically sit
Uh-huh.
at for that game on Sunday was $3,000 a ticket.
Oh,
$3,000 a
man.
ticket, and I love it. I was at the game. I love it because it shows the progress and the direction that women's basketball, professional basketball, is going. I've always been an advocate of the women's game, professional game. I love where it's going. Do I feel like we've had this conversation before? Do I feel like that women's professional basketball should get paid equally as the men? No, I don't. No, I don't. Um, it's business wise, it's not a big enough draw. Do I feel like they should be making a hell of a lot more than what they are making? Yes. I even threw out some numbers. The max contract should be $5 million a year, anywhere between $5 and $10 million a year.
Okay.
I just feel like the max contract should be that. I think the minimums should be $1 million a year. So if you are the last man on the bench or last woman on the bench, you should be making $1 million. We have to put some prestige on our women's sport because they should not have to go overseas to play during the off season. They should not have to maintain jobs or kill themselves trying to promote them or their brands. I love the fact that a lot of women now are getting shoe deals, endorsement deals. Yeah, and they should, but the bulk of their money is going to always come from endorsement deals. It's going to always come from endorsement, but they shouldn't have to be so dependent on that.
I mean, even when the college, NA, the NFL, NIL,
NIL.
NIL. Now, even with that, how they made millions of dollars off of that, and then they get to the WNBA, and then that's cut like in a 75%. So it's like, I mean, do you really give up college for WNBA?
Yeah, and that's as menial as that sounds, like that's a really big decision because especially with like this NBA draft was probably the worst NBA draft of in history. It just was. Like typically every year we have an idea who's gonna go in the top five at least. A lot of times top 10. Um, I had no idea who was going number one, and we know every year it's between two or three players, college players that are going to go number one. I had no idea. I had no idea. There's players that was drafted. I'm like, I had to do research and like dig them up. Like, who is?
And maybe that's why, because if they really didn't have a solid draft class, then they had to get the ones that were doing better in this draft class and then put them as the ones.
And I'm not by no means am I badgering or devaluing any of the college athletes that came out in the draft. This draft, let me just say it like this: this draft had more unknowns than any other
Mm,
draft class.
okay, okay.
Um, and what that did was that benefited people like Bronny, because had it been a deeper draft class, he still, I believe, the Lakers still would have pulled what they pulled off, but they would have had to do more explaining had it been a deeper draft class. So he actually came out in the right draft class. I still don't agree with him being drafted, even though he was number 55. I still don't agree with that him being drafted at all. Like I would have been okay with him going undrafted and the Lakers deciding to pick him up. And from what I hear, in my quietest kept circles, is Rich Paul is telling everybody he's not going to do a two-way deal. He's
Hmm.
actually going to be on the roster of the be on a 15-man roster with the Lakers. So now he's really taken up a spot for somebody that can really contribute to the Lakers winning this year. Um, and I just don't see with his skill set. I know a lot of people that have worked with him, um, in, including his high school in his high school and prep school. Um, he's he's not a player that comes with a high skill set. He's just athletic as hell.
I mean, for someone like that coming in, being drafted at 55 and getting a guaranteed contract, a multi-year guaranteed contract. It's like I'm like, dude, that must be something going on there. 'Cause it doesn't really sound like a your normal way of drafting.
Well, the Lakers have it's not just Bronny James. The Lakers have been making headlines as of late, and not in a good way. Um, First, it was expected that they were going to fire Darvin Ham. That was they had been talking about that halfway through the season last year. So that wasn't a surprise. The surprise to me um, was who they fired with Darvin Ham. They fired Phil Handy, who was highly touted it as being the next head coach for the Lakers. A lot of people don't know that Phil's roots with the Lakers run deep. He was with the Lakers for 4 years when Kobe's last 4 years with the Lakers. He was Kobe's trainer and the assistant coach. So he has deep rooted ties with the Lakers. And so um, when they not only fired Darvin Ham, but when they fired Phil, there was a lot of people shocked because there was a lot of people that would have been willing to bet large sums of money that Phil was going to be the next head coach. And I think that would have been a great fit, not just because he's my friend, but just knowing his knowledge of the game, the respect that he garners from all of the players in the NBA, the you know his ability, his training. He's trained all of the top uh, players in the NBA in some kind of way. And so that was just a natural fit for me. But then, of course, the Lakers make headlines by hiring JJ Redick, which is another atrocity. This man has not coached at any level. He last coached 8 and 9 year olds. Um, he was a journeyman at best in the NBA. He's burnt a lot of bridges and he's raised a lot of eyebrows with things that he said about um, past Hall of Famers, talking about the era of basketball that they played in. And the late Jerry West has something to say about it. Jerry West, um, he let it be known. He said, "Who is JJ Redick? What has he done for the NBA game? Like he's had a okay mediocre career, but he doesn't have the latitude or the authority to sit there and talk about Hall of Famers and what they did and didn't do and judging their era of basketball." Jerry West said, "I could have did what I did in any era." Basically, what Jerry West said, and you're he said that about Jerry West. Like that's the logo, bro. Like seriously. And here you are. What did you average? 11 to 12 points a game as a journeyman. Played on what 5 to 6 different teams, and then you land the Lakers head coaching job. There was a ton of African American coaches that qualified. Sam Cassell being one, Phil Handy being another one, and we can just go on and on and on. Even white coaches, there was a ton of white coaches that were way more qualified than him. But the narrative was that we get JJ Redick in here. Now he'll be our do boy. We get him to do whatever we need him to do, including drafting Bronny James.
Okay.
And so now, you know, LeBron ain't have to worry about no pushback from the coach because I don't think that had there been any other coach in there, I don't think he would have gotten the support of that coach of whoever that coach was in drafting his son. And like I said, you know, there's a small window that a team has to to pursue a championship. And so with every move you make, it has to be something building toward that. And that number 20, that number 55 pick in the second round did not tell their fans or the city of LA that they were serious about going after a championship this year.
All right. It sounds like they're trying to rebuild.
It sounds more like that. Like um I just I don't understand it. And then by you telling the world that he's going to have a roster spot and he's not going to be on a two-way contract, which simply means that he won't be playing in the G League where he should be playing at
And that's what I was thinking.
where he should be
Yeah.
playing at to hone his
Right.
game to get the experience because he didn't get the experience in college. The kid played 12 to 13 minutes a game, if not less. And so regardless of his points per game, I say it like this. Had he averaged 4.3 points a game and he started and he was on a really good team and he had to get in where he fit in, that would make that 55th pick understandable because now you're playing on a loaded team, on a really good team, and you were still able to get approximately 5 points a game. I could have rolled with that at the number 55th pick if that was the storyline, but it wasn't. USC did not have a good team at all, and you still barely saw the court. But like when you look at his high school, like my experiences, my experience, I was all state, all area, all league coming out of high school.
Okay.
I averaged 14 points a game. My scoring dropped because we lost our number one player. At the time he became ineligible, I think he was averaging 27. I was averaging 21, 22 a game. My scoring had to drop because we had to get other people involved to make up for what we lost when he became ineligible. Bro, I didn't get one look at being a McDonald's All American or being an All American. And Ronnie James averaged like a half a point more than me in high school, and he was a McDonald's All American.
So his best game was when he played Oregon State.
And he had how many points?
15,
Yeah,
3 assists.
bro.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said? He averaged 14 points a game as a senior. He only averaged 8 as a junior. As a senior, he averaged 14 points a game, and he was a high school McDonald's All American with 14 points a game.
So they didn't have nobody who can score more than who's better than him.
Bro, you should not have been eligible to be a McDonald's All American averaging 14
Right.
points a game.
Exactly. So they didn't, like I said, they didn't. They must
So
didn't have nobody else.
this privilege thing has followed him throughout his life. And I get it who your dad is. I get it. But at some point as a parent, what do you think this is setting your son up for? He basically has the mindset all I have to do is be mediocre and my daddy would take care of the rest. Nothing has disproved that. He's mediocre at best.
Right.
So what is as he gets to be an adult, if that doesn't change, what is the message he sends his kids? Or what's the message that he sends to Bryce?
It's one of those things that he's guilty by association.
He is. And it like for me it's bad leadership. Everybody that has influence in that kid's life did not take him into consideration when they made the decisions that they made for him to go pro. Because they have to protect they their first priority is to protect him. Because the fans, when the season comes, is going to eat him up because they do not respect or like his dad. Period. People think that I don't like him. I've hung out with him. I've been around him. It's not like I dislike him. I dislike how he has held the league hostage since he's been in the league, and everything is about LeBron. And he's selfish to me, to where every move he makes has to be a benefit of him.
Well, I mean, when they give it to him,
Yeah, like he coming from where he came from, you can't knock him for falling into the chosen one. Um, but to continue that on, it's not sending the right message, and I think that's the reason why he has so many people against him. And then the fact that he went on his show and said that when he won a championship in Cleveland, he said that made him the GOAT. But when you really look at the game, Kyrie was the one that won the Cavaliers that championship with his play and what he did in that game and how he took over that game. And so yeah, and so when you put yourself in a particular light, you can't look back and wonder why people are judging me, why people are giving me a hard time. You set that up. You made that happen. And so we're not I just want to clear the air. We're not mad at LeBron James. We don't hate Bronny. We this and that and this and that. We just I spent a lot of time in the black community doing stuff for these kids. And there's a lot of underserved black kids in this community. And we need to be doing more as a whole to help our black community. We don't need to be singling individuals out. We need to be doing it collectively as a whole. And yes, it's good when one of us make it, but make it the right way. And let's not step on each other to get there. That's the message that I would like to send in all of this. But yeah, there's no hate at all. It's just pointing out something that's obvious. But the only people that are really going to understand it are the ones that are open minded and willing to accept someone else's opinion and what have you. But you got those people out there that LeBron, I say this all the time, LeBron could be standing over a body with a smoking gun. The first question that a LeBron fan will ask is, what did that guy do to get shot? Not why did LeBron shoot him, but what did the guy do to get shot? Got to be careful of trying to talk to people that's already got their mind made up.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Man, we appreciate you guys tuning in today. Nepotism and inheritance. And the difference between the two, nepotism is if I'm in a position at a job and I use my position to get a family member a job that they might not otherwise qualify for, that is nepotism. If I own a company and it is my company and I choose to hire my kids or a relative, that is not nepotism. That is inheritance. when you start a company as an individual, the idea behind starting the company is being able to pass it down to your family members. So that is inheritance. Understand the difference between the two because they are not the same. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. Like I said, it's always a blessing to be able to be in a building and talk about whatever we want to talk about.
That's right.
And that's why we tell you to come in, take your shoes off, and get comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations. So, as we end all shows, love, peace, and soul.